Hello, everybody. Good day. We will kick off here in just a moment to talk a little bit about the phase one process. And I'm sure as many of you know, um, the AFWorks Open Topic is due in less than 24 hours. So we'll dive in just a moment. Thanks for being here. We're working through getting this on LinkedIn Live and pushing this across all of our platforms. So sorting through that for the first time here today. It'll be pretty awesome. All right, team. It looks like we are live across all of our platforms. So I will go ahead and start diving into the fun we get to have today and build from there. So feel free to ask any questions. Best way to do that is going to be the Q&A function. This way I can make sure I get to your question in time. And so I'd appreciate if you use the Q&A function for any comments or chat you have so we can get rolling. I'm Joey. I'm one of the managing partners on the Outpost team. Our role is to help companies grow and scale in the government space. One of the tools to do that is the open topic process that is leveraging the SBIR and STTR funds, and the AFWorks, an Air Force specific program, runs that. So today we're going to talk a little bit about that and dive into some tips and tricks for your phase one. And if you're on this webinar, I bet that you're interested in some tips and tricks for your applications due tomorrow. And so we'll be covering that after we go over some of the fundamentals. Feel free to jump in with questions at any point through the Q&A function. Thanks. So what is the open topic process and what are the thought processes behind it? What we have is a dual use approach to national security solutions. The goal for the open topic process is to find technologies that are successful in the commercial market and help those companies understand how they can best apply in the Department of Defense space, specifically within the Department of the Air Force. And the goal is to take the best tech that's occurring out in the commercial world and help those companies do customer discovery and a feasibility study with government stakeholders for that phase one process. And our goal is with this model, it has been to leverage that to help companies get their foot in the door to engage with government and then build onto larger contract opportunities. We've been able to help multiple companies use this as a process to go from 0 to $30 million in government contracts within a 2-year time frame. So it's been pretty awesome to see and watch. So you might be asking like, hey, what's the open topic versus the specific topic? The open topic is the Department of the Air Force saying that any company with US based and less than 500 people is eligible to apply and share, hey, this is how we think our idea can apply to the Department of Defense and specifically on the Air Force side. So the company can raise their hand and say, hey, we think this is something that the Air Force could really use, and here's how it would all come together. So the open topic is truly open. There's no restriction on the type of ideas that are submitted. The specific topic exists as a way for the Air Force to say, here are key things that we need in materials manufacturing, or what we need in AI ML capabilities, or in space responsiveness capabilities. And those are specific topics that are laid out with requirements. And those applications are due on 18 October this year. The open topic applications are due tomorrow at noon Eastern. And the key thing to note on the AFWorks budget side is about 40% of their $1 billion plus budget goes to open topic, and about 40% goes to specific topic each year. So there's about $400 million, and out of that, there's multiple cycles throughout the year as well. So what do the awards look like? We're going for phase ones. What does that mean? So you're here in this phase one part of the journey, which means it's up to 75K per award. These are firm fixed priced awards, which means it's a set amount of money for a set time. And the open topic phase ones are 3 months long for 75K. And the Air Force team wants to do anywhere from 750 to 1,000 awards a year. From there, these phase ones flow into up to $1.25 million to $1.8 million follow-on phase two contracts. And the Air Force wants to do about 200 to 300 of those a year. This year's direct to phase two cycle is expected to be October 24th to November 23rd. So if you're interested in the direct to phase two cycle, you also need a customer memo. And that's another webinar we'll be doing here in a couple weeks. So separate topic, but we can dive into that later. And the TAC-FI StratFi program, StratFi applications were due earlier today. And then TAC-FI applications are due between applications open up for October and are due 8 November. Another webinar, another topic. But today we're here focused on the phase ones. And the key thing to note is there are two solicitations per year. So there's one that is going to be due tomorrow. And then the follow-on one for next year will open up in February and be due in March. The exact dates are to be determined. All right. So what is the difference between an SBIR versus an STTR open topic? So one key thing to note is you may only submit one submission per topic. So if you're going after these, you can submit one per call. And what that means here for SBIR and STTR is an SBIR is that the small business is doing all of the work and they are proposing directly to government. The STTR means that the business has partnered with a nonprofit research institution to engage in the research and development work. So what that means is at least 30% of the work will be done by that nonprofit research institution, all the way up to 60%. So you could partner with an organization, and this STTR pathway tends to be for ideas that are a little bit earlier and don't have that commercial validation along that side. So it's something to think about as you're going down these pathways. STTR is if you're earlier in the idea stage, and then SBIR is good if you have some product market fit and commercial traction. All right, so we talked a little bit about the SBIR, STTR side. The big thing I want to highlight is that winning any of these awards results in a sole source justification for any federal agency. So those government entities could come to you for a direct award for the capability that's based off of or a derivative of your phase one award. So this is one of the best ways to get in and engage with government and get a sole source contracting authority. The other thing to note is the phase one is really that discovery prototype phase, discovery customer discovery feasibility phase. And then phase two is the prototype phase. These are the two parts that are funded by the SBIR or STTR program. Phase three is actually not funded through this program. What it is a term for other government funding saying, hey, we took this R&D idea that came up, we prototyped it, and now we want to scale it to the larger government community. And so that's what we have in place here. So what are the requirements for an open topic phase one proposal? Well, there's a lot of different pieces that come into play with your government registrations and other information there. You have to put in a cost volume. There's some commercialization documentation and supporting documentation here as well. But the big thing is here in volume two. There's a max 25-page slide deck that has to be submitted. There is a template for this. We also have our own template. And the goal is to take your commercial pitch deck and adapt it to pitching to the Air Force. And the three required elements for that, we'll go over here in just a moment. All right, so what are those three key things you should be thinking about when you're building out your 25-page slide deck? They are commercialization potential, defense need, and technical merit. What is commercialization potential? Commercialization potential is about the history of your business and how they are selling commercially. So what are your pre-sales? What is your traction in the market? What are your active users? What subscriptions do you have? So when you're looking at commercialization potential, you want to make sure that you're being very clear in articulating the revenue and the traction that you have in the commercial space. Defense need is a second evaluation criteria for the Air Force Open Topic. And what this means is they're looking for how are you taking your commercial idea and what is the applicability to being used in the Department of Defense, and specifically in the Air Force. How are you taking your technology and applying it to an Air Force operational need? And you want to be very specific about this. So if you have a offensive cyber capability, you want to talk about who are the offensive cyber operations organizations within the Air Force and how would you partner with them? What does your tool do? What is the benefit of it? And how does that engage? If you have an augmented reality headset, who are going to be the users of that capability? How does it make their job better? And be able to translate that from the commercial speak to the DoD speak. And the third criteria is technical merit. So what is the technical merit of your technology? Why does it work? Why is it innovative? How is it going to change the nature of the game? What are the technical approaches that you are using or seeking R&D funding for to advance the state of the art? What this means is make sure you're communicating that your technology is real. Include the diagrams, include your technical specifications, and make sure that you are jumping in here and addressing the different core capabilities of what you can do and how you are taking that next leap forward on the research and development side. Those are the three key criteria for evaluating on the Air Force Open Topic. And the Air Force takes these criteria and evaluates every proposal against them. All right, so tips and tricks for your proposals that are due tomorrow. We want to make sure that you're clearly stating the research and development and test and evaluation aspects of your proposal. How is your proposal research and development? As you're going after SBIR dollars and STTR dollars, this is a required part of what you're doing. The second thing is if you were going after a phase 2, you want to make sure that you have those MOUs in place. But for phase 1s due tomorrow, the things you want to think about are, can you get any letters of support? Can you get any government entities to really tie in and say, yes, this is our defense need? How does that fit in to their mission set? What is the potential use case with those organizations? And then you want to talk about the success of your commercial technology, product or service. And you want to do this in numbers. Talk about it in numbers. What is your traction? How is it coming together? Where are you selling today? Who are your customers? Include those logos, include that information. More metric-driven data here is going to help you be successful. And then the last thing is leverage real stories to talk about the impact and how they could be applied in the Department of Defense. So if you have an amazing case study on your commercial side, share it. Include that information. If you have an amazing idea for an application in the Department of Defense, or you have news articles from the DoD and quotes you can pull in, say like, hey, this organization has clearly defined and articulated our need. This is the gap we want to fill. You can talk about that in specificity. That's what you want to do. So as you're looking at your 15-page slide deck for your phase 1s, those are some key things to think about as you're looking at the overall narrative in your deck. So you might be wondering like, hey, why our team? Why are we putting together this webinar? Why are we doing this? Our organization was built by a group of the founders behind AppWorks, and our goal is to continue our mission. We want to help companies grow and scale in the Department of Defense, and we are here in that process to help companies understand how to engage. We've helped over 200 companies win, and we've helped take multiple companies to exit. We've had 3 of our portfolio companies on the Outpost side exit to larger companies and public companies as well. So it's been pretty cool to help companies grow their federal market share and then see them go on and have exits. We've won contracts across numerous government agencies, and this is our amazing team here. So now we're about to pop into questions. So if you have any questions, I would love to dive in. I copied some over some of the FAQ, so we have that as well. And I'll dive into Q&A as well. Tony, you asked the easiest question of my day, teed it up for me. yes, we can share a copy of the slides and we'll send that out after this meeting is over. All right, anonymous. Any comment on another transaction agreement as a different avenue for investment that might not like up with the SBIR SCTR timeline? I think you meant link up, and OTs are a phenomenal vehicle to use for engaging with government. The nice thing about the OTAs are that it provides the government a lot of flexibility in how to engage with a small business. If you're interested in engaging on the government side, an OT is absolutely a great pathway. And if you have an engaging customer, they have the warrants to do OTs and they have the funding to put it in place, and you have a use case in tech, that would be a fantastic thing to pursue. One of the amazing things about the SBIR program is, again, that sole source authority, and then leading into the TACFI StratFi programs about 18 to 24 months out from your first phase one, lines you up for some $3 to $15 million and $30 million contract opportunities that are a really awesome way to transition. So hope I answered that in a way that you need. Trying to bring this back to SBIR, STTR for our phase ones here as well. Feel free to jump on the mic if you have any questions. All right. So the other key things to note, folks might be wondering, how do you know if your tech is a useful solution to a DoD problem set? Again, that goes back here to the 3 evaluation criteria: commercialization, defense need, and tech merit. And other questions that people always have are, hey, can you apply to the open topic and other DoD solicitations? The answer is yes. So if you're interested in applying to a specific topic and the open topic, you absolutely can. And then I just want to reiterate that this is for US-based companies that qualify as small businesses under the SBA standards. So we've covered everything we have in our webinar. I know we have folks dialing in as well for our live stream. And if you want to jump in and ask any questions, recommend you hop into our Zoom link or shoot us a message on the Outpost. We have the Outpost LinkedIn page, and then I'm also on LinkedIn as well. Feel free to jump in and ask any questions, or feel free to email and reach out. I would love to chat with everyone and help answer any questions in the space. Unless there's any other questions, I think we'll actually wrap this up. It's also great to see some familiar names in the attendee list. So hello to folks that are here. Cool. I'll stay on the line for just a moment. Other than that, I appreciate everyone jumping in today on some tips and tricks for phase one. Hey, Joe. Thanks for the question on the OTA side. Yeah, that Half-Works Challenge exposure is great. Pursuing an OT pathway is a phenomenal opportunity for what you're doing. So highly recommend applying. We've had multiple companies be really successful through the Half-Works Challenge process. And James, you seem to be heavy on text. Any advice on what the balance should be in the tech volume? There's not a specific answer there. It is a technical volume, but the goal here is if you can convey images of your product or capability, that would be really helpful on the technical merit side as well. And then, on your revenue side and commercial traction side, throw in logos for the companies you're working with, throw in a graph for your revenue. That's a great way to mix up a lot of the heavy text here as well. And easy ball questions today. I really appreciate it. Any pools of money for past Half-Works challenges that haven't secured a solution that is mission ready? Joe, I'd have to dive in a little bit more into what your product, service, or capability is. And I'm happy to set up a follow-up call where we can dive into that and talk about what opportunities for funding that might be available. All of the previous challenges that I'm tracking did execute on solutions or in that contract process. So this way they could start work to field a capability. Thanks, Joe. Yeah, looking forward to chatting one-on-one. We'll shoot some emails in our follow-up and we can set up a time. Awesome. Thanks, team. We're gonna go out and close it out. Thank you. Hope you have a good day.